What is up, YouTube? It is your boy NMR Sports here. There's a lot of stuff going on that went down last night. Let's get into it and talk about a few rumors that might be happening in the future. Now, we got some bad stuff to talk about, but we do have some lights at the end of the tunnel that I'd like to talk about as well. So let's get right into it. Now, before we get into the video, of course, if you like the content, be sure to subscribe. I looked at my analytics. Only 92% of you who watch my videos, only 8% of them are subscribed. So be sure to hit that sub button if you want to keep watching these videos and click the bell icon if you want to be notified when I post. We also talk a lot about baseball on Twitch, so if you're watching this as soon as I upload it, we actually are going to be live tonight talking all about these baseball moves and my opinions on some of them as well. I also have a Discord that'll be in the chat, in the comments of this video. Also, Instagram and Twitter, NMR Sports 30. All that'll be in the description. I also just started a podcast, so if you want to take some NMR Sports to go, check us out on Spotify. That link will be in the description as well. Now that that's out of the way, let's get to talking about this. Now, of course, we got to start off with the unfortunate news I'm sure most of you have heard about. Jared Porter, the GM, or the former GM, I should say, of the New York Mets, has been fired due to some unsolicited pictures that he sent a female reporter back in 2016. Now, obviously, this looks really bad on the organization and Jared Porter specifically, but I would like to give a little bit of credit to Stephen Cohen, the owner of the Mets, in dealing with it in a swift and strict way. He said, I will actually quote it here. Stephen Cohen said on his Twitter, "We have terminated Jared Porter this morning. In my initial press conference, I spoke about the importance of integrity, and I meant it. There should be zero tolerance for this type of behavior." Now, obviously, this still looks bad on the organization, but at least Stephen Cohen was strict and quick with dealing with this. He didn't drag it out like other organizations might have or done a whole thing. It just looks really good to get it deal with, and MLB is investigating the situation currently to figure out what exactly went wrong and talking about suspending Jared Cohen for a little bit. Now, this is a really bad look on baseball as a whole. I know they're trying to get more women involved in the sport. They just hired the first female GM over in Miami. And obviously things like this are part of the reason why why women do not want to be in the sport or around some of these characters. So, bad look for baseball. At least the Mets did a good job dealing with it. Now, another piece of news that happened yesterday, Jon Lester signed a one-year deal with the Washington Nationals, which is kind of interesting. It's kind of unfortunate as well. He was supposed to stay with the Cubs. He really wanted to stay with the Cubs, I should say. But the Cubs are rebuilding right now, and they really don't want to spend a lot of money this offseason. So, unfortunately, they didn't make him any offer whatsoever. So, they kind of just let him walk. Jon Lester was a little upset about it. He wanted to win his 200th game with the Cubs. He wanted to retire as a Cub. But it's really unfortunate just because he was one of the leaders there in 2016 when they broke the 208-year curse. So, a little unfortunate story there with Jon Lester. Now, let's look into the numbers with Jon Lester. Now, Jon Lester is going into his age 37 season. The last 2 years, he's kind of regressed a little bit, having a 4.46 ERA back in 2019 for the Cubs and a 5.16 ERA in a shortened 2020 season. In 2020, he did only start 12 games at a 3-3 record, 61 innings pitched. So I ended up with 42 strikeouts and 17 walks. So it was definitely not an amazing pitcher last year, and they're definitely getting him at the end of his career, the Nationals are, but he could be a good guy to maybe eat up some innings for them in 2021. The last few years of 162 game seasons, he has pitched 171 innings in 2019, 181 innings in 2018, and 180 innings in 2017. So it will be good to eat up about 170 innings for you next year for the Nationals. So a nice little pickup towards the end of the rotation since they don't need him to be like his old self. Now, one team that has been making a few moves that are kind of under the radar right now, the Toronto Blue Jays. Last night, the Toronto Blue Jays decided to sign Tyler Chatwood to a one-year deal. It's worth $3.3 million with $5 million in incentives, so he can get up to $5.5 million if he meets all the incentives. He came up with the Angels in 2011 as a 21-year-old, and he's going into his age 31 season next year. He's primarily been a starter in his career, but in 2019, he had a great year as a reliever for the Cubs. He started 5 games and he pitched in 38. He had a 3.76 ERA and 76 innings pitched. I ended up with 74 strikeouts. His problem's usually been walks. In 2018, he actually led the league in walks. Yeah, so the Toronto Blue Jays plan on using him as a reliever. And speaking of the Toronto Blue Jays and relievers, the Toronto Blue Jays are in deep talks with elite free agent reliever Kirby Yates. Now, Kirby Yates is in deep talks with the Toronto Blue Jays right now. He actually was getting examined by some physicians at their facility in Florida today, just to make sure that he is healthy after having season-ending surgery last year to remove some bone spurs or bone chips in his elbow. Now, obviously, that's a little bit of a scary procedure. It's not nearly as bad as Tommy John surgery, so they're just making sure that he's healthy and ready to pitch. He is 34 years old, going into his age 34 season next year. But in 2019, his age 32 season, he was absolutely elite. He led the league among relievers in 1.19 ERA, led the league in saves at 41 saves in 60.2 innings. He struck out 101 batters, which is about 38% of the batters he faced. So you were not going to hit Kirby Yates in 2019. So in 2021, if he can return to that form, I could expect this to be a pretty big deal for Kirby Yates. He is going into his age 34 season, like I said, though. So he's getting towards the end of the year, end of his career probably. So probably not a super long-term deal we're talking about with him. But definitely going to be a big deal if he can return to that 2019 form for the Toronto Blue Jays. Now that is going to do it for us today. That was everything you missed last night that happened after the Joe Musgrove trade. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Please like the video, of course. It helps the channel out a ton. Comment down in the description what you think it would be a better fit for Kirby Yates maybe, or just get into a fight about the Yankees or something. Everybody loves to talk about it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like I said, all the links to where you can find me will be in the description of this video, and I will see you guys next time.